Hey guys, I did not know how to start this video, so I'm just in my car. I finally don't have kids with me, so I thought I would start it right now. Well, I've just got me and the dog in the car because I always have kids with me. But anyways, I've been wanting to talk about my HIV story and put it out there so people know exactly what happened to me and how I got it, and what happened to me while when I got sick and how it's affecting me now. So basically why I want to talk about it and let people know about what happened is because when this happened to me, I didn't know who to turn to. There was nobody in my world, nobody that had this. So I had nobody to confide, well, not confide in. I didn't have anybody to ask, like, what are the stages? I mean, I could just talk to my doctor, but I didn't have anybody who could give me like firsthand personal information or experience. So I went on to YouTube and I did find several stories on there with people who had contracted HIV and just what they were dealing with. So basically I found out that I got it back in 2013, but I just found out that I had it in 2016. But by doing some investigative research, I was able to find out basically who I got it from and about the time frame. So it was 2013. Somebody that I had a relationship with, he didn't know he had it at the time, and he had actually been quite sick kind of the whole time we were together, and we didn't know what was going on. Couldn't figure out what was going on with him, but anyways, he definitely had it at the time, and he was probably very contagious at the time because he was sick. Just a lot of digestion problems. He was having, I'm trying to think what else was going on. A lot of digestion problems, I remember that. So anyways, I basically contracted it sometime in 2013. I'm thinking we were together kind of from January to August, and I think it happened toward the end of our relationship because I vividly remember having these cluster headaches that were so severe for about 4 days. I remember driving in my car and looking over at my daughter, and I could barely even turn my eyes. Like, my head hurt so bad, and I didn't know what the heck was going on. But at the same time, I was having like esophagus problems, so I thought there was some connection. So I went to a gastroenterologist, and I found out the date of that appointment was like mid-September. And so a cluster headache is definitely one of the first signs when you contract it. You have like some really severe symptoms, like kind of in the beginning, and then the virus calms down. And so but I definitely had lots of symptoms along the way until I got really, really sick. So I went in for that appointment, and my doctor basically, he obviously didn't know, but I went in for the esophagus problem, but I said I have this really bad headache too. Is there any connection between, it sounded so strange, my esophagus and my head? And he was just like, just drink less coffee. And I'm thinking, okay, I drink like a cup a day. Like, it wasn't anything crazy. So to me, that didn't really add up, but it went away and I didn't think much of it. And during the next 2.5 years, I had some other symptoms that were definite red flags and signs that nobody picked up on. I had a swollen lymph gland in my neck, and I went in for that to an ear, nose, and throat doctor, and he basically just said, you know, as long as it goes down, I'm not worried about it. So there was nothing done about it, but it was prominent. Like, I could totally feel something. I knew something felt really weird. It's gone now. And I had yeast infections that were like nothing I'd ever had before. I could not get rid of it. I was like taking diflucan like daily, it was doing nothing. And I mean, not to be super graphic, but I was rubbing myself to the point that I was bleeding because I was like itching so bad. It was awful. It was the most pain. It was super painful, actually. Couldn't hardly get rid of them, and then finally they would just clear up. But that's part of it for sure. I had thrush in my mouth. I actually had yeast in my mouth, and I went to doctors on duty for that. Like, who gets thrush if you're a healthy person? Like, how they didn't pick up on that, I don't know. But they just gave me diflucan for that also, and it did go away. So this last January, beginning of 2016, I started getting really sick. I started being like flu-like symptoms, really tired. My energy level was, super low. My lack of appetite, just didn't feel like eating. I just wanted to get home and get in the bath. I was achy. I had body aches all over. Definitely flu-like symptoms. No vomiting or anything. And I I kept waiting for it to go away, and it's like 3 weeks into this, it's just getting worse and worse, and I've gone to the doctor now twice, and I'm starting to feel like a big baby, like, you know, what is wrong with me? And so they had done blood work, and my blood work was weird. Like, I had red blood cells that were off, and white blood cells were off. I was looking like I was diabetic. My sugar was high. Like, I'm a healthy person. I don't do drugs. I don't, you know, I'm thin. I'm like not, I don't eat a bunch of crap. You know, it didn't really add up. So they said abnormal blood, you know, results, go to an internist, sorry, internal doctor. So I went to this internist. I'm not saying that right. Anyways, I went to him the day after Valentine's Day. So Valentine's Day was on a Sunday. I spent the weekend on the couch with my boyfriend Eric, who was also sick. He had like bronchitis, so we were just figured we kind of had the same thing maybe. Turns out Eric didn't have HIV at all, and he still doesn't, and he's fine. But and still with me, super happy. Everything's cool. Get into that later. But anyways, I went to the doctor the next day, Monday, and I was definitely just continuing to feel awful. And he just asked if he could do a blood test for HIV. He was going to run every test he could think of. And I mean, we were talking about possibly having meningitis, lupus, rheumatoid arthritis, all these things were coming up. He said he was definitely like, and he asked me like 3 times, have you had a sore throat? And I said no. And he was onto it. He saw all the symptoms and realized these were all for HIV. I didn't know that, and at the time, but he was onto it. And so he said, maybe, do you mind if we test you for HIV? And I was like, of course, like, totally fine. So that night, about 7 o'clock, I'm assuming, I thought I had a parasite in me from the ocean. I thought, I have swallowed ocean water, I must have a parasite in me, and that's why I don't feel well. They're just gonna have to find what parasite it is, give me the right antibiotics, and I'm gonna be fine. So I knew that for testing for a parasite, they have to put it in these vials that like sit in refrigerator or whatever for like a few days. So I wasn't expecting to hear anything for a few days because I was so certain this is what it was. And I felt like my blood was just, I was so sick, like head to toe. I just felt like that it had to be a parasite, that it completely like entered my bloodstream and it was affecting my entire body. So like I said, about 7 o'clock that night, I get a call from this doctor, and he says, he doesn't know how to tell me this, but I tested positive for HIV, and not HIV, I tested positive for the antibody that is fighting against HIV. And he said it's going to take some time you need to do the next test. The next test is called the Western blot test, and it basically, it looks for how much HIV is in your blood. So he kind of gave me some information about it's possibly being a false positive, that he knows somebody that this happened to. And unfortunately, we kind of went on that for a little bit, but the more we did research, and I mean, this was a huge shock to me, my family, my boyfriend, my kids. We were like in complete, like I was immobile. Like I was so sick on top of it, and very hard to comprehend this information when you're so sick. And finding out later by my HIV doctor, the way this was handled was really incorrect. I should not have been given a phone call at night. I should have been brought into office. I should have been given counseling. There was like so many things that were missed, and I was left to sit here with this information. And I went to another doctor the next day that he referred me to. It was an internal medicine doctor, and he basically just put me on HIV medication that was not a real current medication. Long story short, I ended up having like horrible side effects from that, and he gave me a sleeping pill. I mean, it was the wrong way to handle what had happened, what I was going through psychologically. And so anyways, I had basically given in to the fact that I had it because my symptoms were so right on with HIV, but everybody else was sort of holding on to the hope that maybe it was something else, because everyone thought HIV would be the worst thing possible. Turns out it is not. It's actually not even a big deal, and I'll get into why it's not a big deal. But anyway, I stopped that medication, took the Western blot test, and I ended up okay, show my eyes now. I ended up with I had to wait about a week for the information to come back about how much HIV was in my blood, and it also definitely confirms that you have it. So I ended up having, in 1 millimeter of blood, which is basically just a drop of blood, I had 507,000 particles of HIV. That is a lot. My blood was completely infested with HIV. What it was doing is HIV, this virus, was attacking my good T cells that are cells that protect you from illness. So my body was under attack and it was not able to fight back. It wasn't able to fight back what was going on with me. I'm gonna stop here because I have pictures that I want to show of what I went through when I finally ended up with pneumonia and AIDS. And it was the sickest I've ever been. And for sure, if it had been 10, 15 years ago, they said I would have been given about 2 months to live. Thankfully, modern medicine today has changed, and not only is HIV really, I hate to like downplay it for people who have it and are really upset about it. I don't think it's a big deal. It's not affecting me in any way, but I'll get into that later. I have to go to the store now. Okay, back from the store. I just reviewed my tape and realized I said millimeter. It's a milliliter of blood. And I should mention, I don't want to get into too much information about how I got it, but I will say that it was from sex, for sure. And I want to protect the person who gave it to me. I don't want to get into how he got it, but the ways that you get it is from sex, drug use, needles, and blood transfusions, which doesn't really happen anymore, and mothers giving it to their children via being pregnant. So, but mine was definitely it was sex, not drugs, and it is HIV is in blood mainly. That's the big one. It's in blood. It is in semen, and sorry when my kids watch this, but it is in vaginal secretions, but it's a very small amount. It's almost the equivalent of saliva. Like, there's no documented cases of lesbian couple giving it to each other. So it's super, super low. So women giving it to men is really low, really, really low. And that is why Eric doesn't have it, and why Eric isn't worried about getting it. We've done a lot of research, and I don't want to give any false information out there and tell people to not protect themselves if it is the same situation as myself, but we're not like, it's not even a topic. It's a non-topic with us. My numbers now are so low that I basically don't have it anymore, but I'll get into all that after when I get home. But I just thought I wanted to clear up the milliliter thing. And also, it is not in, there's 5 things it's definitely not in: pee, poo, saliva, it's not in saliva, tears or sweat, not in any of those things. It's blood, semen, vaginal secretions, but blood is the big one. Semen, not even as much. It's like blood is the big one. So it has to be blood to blood contact, or has to be semen into somehow like something has to be open. It has to reach your bloodstream. So that has to happen. Saliva, it's not in there. My kids and I shared food, drinks. There's just no worries there. We did have my daughters tested just in the rarest case possible that they could have used a razor after me, and like maybe I bled, and HIV doesn't last long at all outside of the body, so it's like it would have died anyway, but just for that rare possibility. So we did have them tested just because of the razor use, because we did share razors, and they're fine. They don't have anything. So people are looking at me weird because I'm talking in my car. So I wanted to remember those things, and I'll be in my house in a second. Okay, back in my bedroom. Some things I totally forgot to mention. I'm 45 years old, and I have 3 kids, a 15-year-old, 13-year-old, and a 9-year-old, and I've been divorced since 2008, and the kids are all with the same father, and we were married for almost 9 years. So this happened after my divorce. And so anyways, where was I? I got the information that I had, my body was basically infested with HIV. And there's a lot to the story that I'm just kind of jumping around and like leaving stuff out. I'm actually writing all this out, and maybe we'll publish this someday. For right now, it's kind of just cathartic to write it all out. So the story is pretty detailed about all the little steps that went into the big horrific illness that I ended up having. But basically, I had that appointment with that infectious disease doctor. He gave me the medication that really isn't, I think they call it first line or something. It's like an older medication. And it really, I was already sick, and then I have these side effects that are making me feel even worse. They're making me feel high, kind of like drugged, like not a good high, and like psychedelic high. They're making me feel more nauseated, and like I could barely eat. There's just nothing. I've got my cats playing with my phone here. I was losing weight quickly, and I'm already a thin person. I got down to at my lowest, I was like, I think it was 117 or 118, and I'm 5'11", so it was super, super thin. It was gross. Sky, get off there. So anyway, I got my results, and I had an appointment with an HIV doctor. A friend of mine got me in touch. Thank you so much, Brianna. Got me in touch with the right people in town, and it's not rocket science. HIV is not rocket science, but there are doctors that are that are specialists in the area, and they can get you on track, and they know all the things to tell you and what you need to be worried about and not worried about. So it was the care team is who I was in touch with. Dr. Leonard is my doctor, Wendy Leonard. And before I got to that appointment on Friday, so it was basically Tuesday that I saw that infectious disease doctor, I got in touch with them. And by the next day, Wednesday, I started having this little cough. And I already had been kind of assigned a nurse over the phone, and I spoke to her. And by Thursday, I had an incident where I ran up my stairs or walked up my stairs, and I just collapsed on my bed and couldn't breathe. And I knew it was time. My mom was going to come down on the next day for that appointment, and I needed her sooner, so I had her come Thursday instead. And I went to I told myself I wouldn't cry during this. I went to Dominican on Thursday, and I just knew something was wrong. I had to walk in there and tell them that I had HIV. It was the first time I'd ever actually gone into a medical facility and had to say that, and that wasn't fun. But they treated me with such respect, and they made sure I was off to the side and nobody could hear what was going on with me. And we did a chest X-ray, and it came up positive for pneumonia. And this was the day that I was in the hospital, and I took that from my friend who was my friend Haley, and I was sitting there, and she knew what was going on, and I felt super sick, and I just had to show her what was going on with me. This is me right now in the hospital sitting here with pneumonia and HIV, and I didn't know what it all meant, but it did mean that by the time I got to my appointment the next day, they had my blood results back, and they also had my T-cell count. And most normal people have T-cell counts anywhere from I don't even know why I'm emotional, because I'm so okay now, but it was just a really scary time. Most T-cell counts are between 700 to 1500, and mine was I was down to 85. So the HIV had attacked everything that was gonna fight disease in me. It couldn't do it anymore. My body had given up, and I could feel it. I could feel that my body was dying. And the doctor said, I'll never forget it. She goes, "This is gonna be a distant memory, and you're gonna be okay, and you're gonna survive this." But they said if this had been 10 or 15 years ago, that I would have died. And they would have given me about 2 months to live. Growing up in the 80s, I saw men, on the news or whatever. I mean, we saw these men in San Francisco, these gay men that were dying of AIDS. And now here I am.
and I've got this, and I've got AIDS. I've got AIDS because my T cells were under 200. Anything under 200, I kind of forgot to mention that, is considered AIDS. Um, AIDS is not contagious. AIDS is just the name they give you when you've contracted another condition on top of having HIV. So because HIV had beat up my immune system so badly, I picked up pneumonia. Pneumonia, and my T cells being under 200 can put me in the category of AIDS. So now I need to fight this pneumonia, and I also have to fight the HIV. I've got two things going on. And while they're fighting the pneumonia, while I've got to take the medication for that, you can't take the HIV medication. So my HIV symptoms kind of started ramping up again while I was trying to fight the pneumonia. So that weekend, I was given a medication for, there was two different kinds of pneumonia that were possible. One's called community acquired pneumonia, and one's called CAP, and one's called PCP. It's pneumocystic pneumonia. They didn't know which one I had. The only way to really find out is to do this like test where they have to put you under and stick a thing down into your lungs and get a sample of what's going on in your lungs. So the best thing to do is to treat for both. But because of my insurance, the one for PCP pneumonia, that medication wasn't readily available. So I had to take Levaquin for the CAP pneumonia. But during that weekend, my symptoms got so severe. The fevers were insane. I was having fevers. I couldn't move. Like, I couldn't breathe. Trying to get from upstairs to downstairs or downstairs to upstairs was something that I did once a day. That was it. It took all my energy to get my body up, to walk, to do something, because I couldn't breathe. And then if I started to like cough, because what it would do is it would start a cough, and then the cough would take your breath away, and it was the scariest feeling. It was drowning in my house. I could not get enough oxygen into my body to like function. It was the scariest thing I've ever felt. And we kind of kept going back and forth with the doctor. Like, I was on borderline going to the hospital, and we basically thought, you know, it's like, who wants to be in a hospital bed? They wanted me to try to get through it because they knew the symptoms would get better and with the medication. But unfortunately, the one that I really needed, which I still think that I had PCP pneumonia, I couldn't get until Monday. So I went through the whole weekend with what I think not the right medication, because my symptoms got worse, and worse. And by Monday, I finally got it's called Meprin. It's this yellow, it looks like yellow paint, and you have to take a teaspoon of it twice a day. It tastes god-awful. But anyways, I felt there was a change almost like within an hour of taking that. Not like I was way better, but I felt something was improving. So I really do feel like it was PCP pneumonia. During that, I'd say there was a 5 day period where I really felt death could have happened. Like, I went to bed at night. My mom said I had labored breathing, and here's one of the pictures of me really sick. This was just on my couch downstairs, just trying to get through the day. Like, just laying here, like, just trying to breathe, and just feeling like I was literally dying. It was horrible. God, I look at that and realize how thin I was, and how sick. So sick. I remember taking these pictures. My fever was really high here. I remember just taking a breath was just an effort. Everything felt really impossible. And I definitely felt death. Like, I felt for these men that had to go through this. That didn't get the choice. They didn't get the option to live. They just had to go through this and die. At least I got medication to get better. But I know how bad it felt, and I know how close to dying. I know how close I felt to dying, and I know what these men went through. And women too. There's women that have died of AIDS also. So, this is one other picture before I actually got pneumonia, but this is just kind of I actually think this was sort of a happy picture, even though I look back at it and I'm like, my God, I look like I'm 90 years old, but I think I was feeling somewhat okay in this picture, but still obviously quite sick. This was in the bathtub. So anyways, this is a long video. I didn't expect this to be so long. maybe I'll wrap it up here. So I got past the pneumonia, and I started taking my new HIV medication. And in the last, I don't even know how many months it's been, 5 months, 6 months. Let's see, February was when I was really sick. February to March, I'd say mid-February to mid-March, I was really sick. April, May, June, July, 4 months, my God, since I've basically been feeling like myself and put back on 20 plus pounds, like easily. My HIV numbers have come from 507,000 in a milliliter of my blood down to the last time they checked 34. 34, whatever. It's like nothing. So basically, people see me, and that's the funniest thing to me is they see me and they're like, "How are you? You look good. Are you feeling okay?" And I'm like, "I am normal. Like there's nothing like I feel like there is nothing in me. Nothing. I feel like the same person like I always did." What happened is there was like if I could draw a person, there'd be a person with nothing in it. And then you could see the next drawing would be when I contracted it and there's like little red dots kind of all over my body. Then when I got really sick, you could see that whole figure of that person like just covered with red dots up and down. Just the body's full of red dots. HIV was everywhere. And now it's so low because this medication literally stops the replication of HIV, but it doesn't get rid of it completely. If I were to stop taking my medication over time, it would come back. It would start to replicate again. It would start to do damage again. So you really have to take your pill every single day. And I was going to show you guys the pill, but I just don't feel like going and getting it. But it's this little, it's not little actually, it's kind of a fat pill, but it's lavender, and I take Triumec, and I have no side effects. I take it in the evening, and it's like nothing. I just have to set an alarm on my phone. It's set for 9 o'clock every night, and I just make sure I take, because otherwise I'd honestly forget, because I don't even think anything of it anymore. It's like taking a vitamin. And but now, like if I were to show you a picture of a drawing of a human with what is in my blood now, there'd maybe be a dot up here and a dot over here and maybe a dot down there. It's like it's basically not in me, but it is in me. It's somewhere in there, and if I were to stop taking a medication, it would start to multiply and it would take over my body again. So when people see me and they're like surprised that I look healthy, or they're surprised that I'm feeling okay, people don't understand. I'm not walking around suffering from AIDS. I'm not, or HIV. I'm not suffering from any of it. I'm a healthy person. Everything's normal again. My blood's normal. Everything's good. I have a Skype call from my boyfriend. I have to go. Okay, I'm back. Done Skyping my boyfriend who lives in Quebec. We have a long distance relationship, and as many have seen, it's almost like our long distance relationship is in the same state, but it's not. It's in different countries, and we just make it work. And it's awesome. And so anyways, I did run down and I got my pill. This is the pill I take, little purple, big purple pill. But anyways, it's got 3 drugs in it, and they found over the years that using all 3 of the drugs together, or having a combination of 3 different drugs. There's lots of different drugs that stop the replication of HIV. Many different ones actually. Like I don't even know, maybe over 20, maybe 30. I'm not even sure. But this is a newer one, and the side effects are really low. And just take it once a day. That's it. I take it at night. That's the only thing. So I guess I want people to know that I do everything I always did. I surf, I skateboard, I am super active, I don't feel sick. I was just talking to my boyfriend, he said, maybe people think like you get this little window of opportunity during the day, and that's when you run out and do your errands, and then you go home and like you're dying. And that's not the case at all. I'm super healthy. I work, and I run my life just like I always have. Nothing has changed since I got better. I'm totally back to normal. But again, if I were to stop taking my medication, the HIV would start to multiply, and it would start to attack my good cells again. And my T cells are on the mend. It takes a lot longer for them to repair. The last time we checked, I think I was in the 300 range, and I'm going to be checking again at September, so in a month, and I'm thinking they should be in the 500 range. So I'm getting there. It's happening, but I don't feel that at all. I feel completely fine. I've actually had a cold since I went through all of this, and it just was a regular old cold. Like I didn't end up getting, really sick or anything. I just had a regular cold. So my body handled it just fine. what else? There's something else I was gonna say. So I posted all this on Facebook. Everybody knew about it. It took me a few weeks to come to that realization that maybe it was okay to share it, because so many people already knew about it that were close to me, and a lot of people knew I'd been sick and they thought it was just pneumonia. So I thought this was an opportunity to use this social media to educate people, to let them know what really happened to me, to give more information about HIV and what it is, and that thank God it looks like there's going to be a cure within the next 5 years. My doctor said just hang tight. She's very, very conservative. She would not give me that information unless she felt very, very strongly about it. She said this is they're very close. So maybe they even have a cure and they just are like keeping it under wraps. I don't know. But she said just hang tight. This isn't going to be the rest of your life, and you're going to be fine. So for me, it's very, very easy. It's like nothing for me. I think people that have diabetes, there's so many other conditions that are really, 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 really bad, and this is not one of them. This is controlled. It's really it's just nothing to be afraid of. If you do get it, there's the medication's super good, and it does wipe it out. It takes care of it. So I think the hardest part, honestly, is saying that you have it, and I don't even care. I could care less. Like, I don't know, for some reason, I don't mind saying it. It doesn't bother me, but maybe that's because the person that I'm intimate with, that I love, didn't leave me, and he didn't make me feel like I was a disease. So it did make that easier, and I'm sure if I was single and having to date and tell people that I had this, my opinion of it would probably be different. So I think it's because I don't have to deal with that. He doesn't treat me any differently, and that was huge for me. That it's completely a non-topic, and we just moved on like everything was fine. So when I did get better, I posted this picture of myself. It was my first day out surfing after I got sick. This is a great day, and I was fine here. I totally felt healthy, and it was great to get that information back out to everybody that I had gotten better and was back to myself. So that's it. I'm sure there's probably stuff I've completely glossed over, because there is a lot of information. If anybody has any questions about what I went through, or anything about HIV, I'd be happy to answer anything that I know. I put together a presentation. I am a substitute teacher, and so I'm planning on presenting to the high schools in this area to educate them on HIV awareness and what it is and how to prevent contracting it, and if you get it, this is what happens basically, and how it's handled. Yeah, I just feel like at this point, it's just good to educate, and that's kind of why I did this video as well, just to let people know what it's all about. So we're not freaks, we're not walking diseases, it's just this virus. Guess what? Everybody gets viruses. Everybody that's watching this has had a virus. Just this one you happen to get attacks your cells that kill, or that take care of killing viruses that come into your body. So that's the only difference. If you get sick tomorrow and get a virus, that's a virus. So these are all just viruses. It's not like it's any different from any other virus, other than it kills your T cells. So anyway, I think it's just because it's associated with drug use and with gay men that it gets a stigma. I mean, I still have this weird stigma in my head from forever, even though I have it. So it's something, I don't know that it doesn't automatically just go away just because I have it. But I think that's it. If anybody has any questions, comment below, and I will do my best to answer any questions anybody has. Okay, see ya.